bit too much.
Yeah, Maple is definitely the one we're going to be looking at for Flas Wolves. He's a huge carry. He's done really well this entire tournament. The star player for these guys, but along with Karsa. Anytime I mention the mid laner, I also have to tack on the jungler.
This conjoined twin.
Exactly.
Yeah. We know the Alistar ban was going to be there. Lelouch gets taken out as well from the side of LMS here. The Caitlyn may be left up, or they're going to double up on 80 carries.
Yeah, the Alistar, when Flas Wolves played against the other top 4 teams, their only wins came on that Alistar pick. Yes, they have wins on other champions, but that's not against the top 4 teams here at this tournament.
And remember the last game where SwordArt tried to steal away the Bard, and he did not have the timings down with that champion. It takes a lot of practice, as Krepo knows very well, to get those timings down perfectly. But this is another thing, you know, with the AD carry bans, a lot of people have been theorizing what is really good against CLG, and everybody's looking at Stixxay trying to pinch his champion pool. This is something I think people are really underestimating about CLG, and Stixxay's champion pool is quite wide. He can also play the Ezreal, which people have kind of left off. And it's also a steal away from NL. So I'm curious if that comes up in this series for CLG.
Yeah, and CLG, aside from the Alistar, targeting Maple with 2 playmaking champions. Yes, one in the late game, one in the kind of the early game for making picks, but he showed us that on that Gangplank he can be absolutely destructive, even picking up people where you would actually not expect it. That was that one phase where he curved the barrels, you know, to really pick somebody off on the final push. Maple, extraordinary Gangplank. I think it's good banning it on game 1, at least for CLG to get their comfort in.
It's definitely top-notch. I feel like as we progress in the series, if CLG run into some trouble, that's going to be one of the first ones to drop, because Maple's also extremely scary on these assassins. His LeBlanc, his Fizz. I'm very curious as to what direction they are going to go with.
Since Azir and Ryze are both open here, in kind of the mid lane trifecta,
and
LeBlanc's out, we likely can expect almost a Kindred pick here. I'm sure they're discussing it. Kindred fell heavily in priority yesterday in the series, but it seems to be a pick that just works well for Xmithie and well for the way CLG approach their team fights.
I do really love Kindred right now. I mean, 6.8, one of the queens of the meta. However, the Karsa is one of the players who can really utilize that Nidalee extremely well, and she has also gone through the picks and ban phase. Previously, you know, we've criticized a lot of the junglers here at MSI for not being able to use the champion well. I think Karsa can step up and do that. Maybe not quite as well as MLG showed, but definitely scared about that one.
Huhi looking to lock in the Ryze into then the expected Azir. I mean, nobody's surprised that this matchup comes out, but Ryze actually gets pushed in by Azir early, especially if you have the favorable jungle matchup, because then you can put the pressure. And in teamfights, Azir plays well into Ryze.
Yeah, and this is where it's not just purely about the draft by itself, it's about the players you're working with. Ryze is one of Huhi's favorite champions. He feels much more comfortable on Ryze than he does on the Azir, as many people have seen, you know, throughout the play.
Interesting that then Flas Wolves don't even want to lock in a jungler. They just instantly want to reveal the Azir, even though they could wait, because it wouldn't be likely to be stolen, because Ryze Azir doesn't really work that well. And the Soraka steal has really high value here. Because it works well against Ryze, and it is a steal of Aphromoo.
Exactly. It shuts down Ryze so heavily in the team fight, so it's going to really put a lot of extra emphasis on who he's positioning, which people were already looking at.
Double value if you put it on the Kindred ulti, in the Ryze in the Kindred ulti.
I mean,
double
triple value if you... Penta value if you get all 5 people in it, right, Krepo? I mean, it's just how many people can you silence, I guess?
Keep adding multipliers.
Yeah. But the real question is, you know, will he be able to use this? Because last time SwordArt tried to steal away a champion from Aphromoo, he flopped.
Yep.
Chronologic Gaming with a very aggressive team to start this one off the bat. The double teleports are there. Will it be matched by the LMS, and Sivir's locked in for NL as well, so it could be forward from both teams here.
Second pickup here for CLG.
I want to see the Caitlyn come out into the Sivir matchup. That is almost a guaranteed swap for Flas Wolves, and they actually haven't really shown that great of a lane swap in this tournament so far. Could be an opening for CLG.
Yeah, Flas Wolves trying to replicate that SKT lane of the Sivir auto-pushing with the healing from Soraka. But this time around, I do want to also mention the Darshan matchup, because he's had to take the Poppy into Ekko matchup, which is, you know, losing it. Yeah, exactly. A lot of top laners have been willing to take that, you know, and just be that team fight presence. A little bit more reliable there with the Poppy. But Darshan, I really am curious how he's going to be able to use this Ekko, because you can get a CS lead, you can get a 1 versus 1 lead, and you can try and pressure that way.
This is a very fun matchup to both play on each end. Sivir Soraka into Bard Kalista is very, very treacherous, because you just got to calculate and sustain it, and it's so hard to really gauge just how punishing it can be. If you take one bad trade as a Kalista Bard lane, suddenly you can never commit for an all-in anymore, but you always have kill pressure, because it's very hard to predict the spell shield on the Rend.
Yeah, look for Aphromoo to try and control the side brush if they end up in the 2 versus 2, and be willing to flash for the ignite kill. He goes for flash, cosmic binding, ignite kills very often when people are even at like 75%.
Yeah, if you look at it though, Flash was looking to secure maybe a more aggressive version of the Soraka Sivir if they lane it.
Yeah.
Yesterday we saw Wolfenbang play it, but they played it so far back that they never used kind of the potential in that lane, which is push and then sustain and then kind of war of attrition your opponent down. With the aggressive jungler in Elise, though, having pushing mid and bot can actually be a strategy for them to employ and then get deep vision in CLG's jungle.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit curious to me because I feel like the way when you play defensive and you play safer with this setup, the Azir, Soraka, and Sivir is the better way to play it. You know, you want to play the numbers, right? A slightly higher percentage, more times out of 100, you are going to come away with victory if you play it a little bit safer. And just try and get to that point where you've got the Sivir wave play, you have Azir late game, and they massacre people in team fights.
And the summoners say it right now, if you look on the side of LMS, Maple may switch, but that's Exhauster running, expecting CLG to be aggressive, and them expecting to hang back.
Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up. Double Exhaust provides a lot of teamfight presence. However, they're swapping at the last second. It was a great point. I wish they would have gone into it so we could see the difference. However, trying to match the teleports here for the mid game.
Yeah, Azir isn't the best teleporting into fights, but it's very hard for Azir to blind fish like a river into a Ryze too. That's maybe why he just wants to trail with the teleport and just use his push. Whenever Ryze leaves the lane, just push in the wave. If he shows up, then you debate, do I follow with teleport or do I take down his turret?
Yeah, we'll see, you know, how this plays out, because if he ends up not getting punished in all ins and they are not successful in killing the Azir, then technically it is going to be the advantage to be able to have that teleport to get back to lane or to assert the cross-map pressure.
All right, you know how to stay connected with us on Twitter. Tell us who you think is going to take the series. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag CLG win or the hashtag Flas Wolves win. You can see NA currently owning the Rift with their 2-0 against Flas Wolves. Now, can they keep it going in this semifinals?
First things first, they swap back. It's back to exhaust for mid lane Azir.
Perfect.
So they're not going to run with that teleport yet. As Krepo said, there is a diminishing value there.
Yeah, the exhaust also just has great value in teamfights, and if we know anything about CLG is that they try to close out the games with teamfights. They have the fan support. North America does own the Rift today. Higher MSI icons there.
Quite a big crowd from the cheer as well coming in here. I mean, even though it's not their home turf, you could possibly be seeing League of Legends just history in the making. NA doing well at these international events and continuing to do well against the best regions from the world. We're getting into the semifinals now. Flas Wolves versus Counterlogic Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the Rift.
Yeah, very classic standard invade here from CLG. Going to go get their deep wards down to see about the lane swap. I have to go over this Flas Wolves comp one more time, though, because I think they had a really good draft phase, actually. We mentioned a lot of the points about the Soraka silence, you know, and getting to that team fight with the Azir. But it is also about the mid jungler that we talked about. This is going to be the crux of the Flas Wolf comp, and having Karsa on the Elise provides an interesting dynamic in the Ryze Azir matchup. Ryze can hold his own, but he has to have the threat of the all-in to be able to hold his own, right? Otherwise, Azir's just going to be able to poke you out. So watch for that vision in the river and the presence of the Elise. They are going to walk over the
Yeah, the ward spotted. Look at what CLG is doing here. Deep vision on one side, and then walking their bot lane into the mid lane to then have a delayed choice. Yes, you may lose out a little bit on what you want to accomplish, but it does look like they're dodging the matchup here. CLG, while maybe having a fun matchup to play into Sivir Soraka, I think they're valuing their skill in lane swap just a little bit more. And they're actually swapping away from this bot lane.
Same thing from Counterlogic Gaming as well as they head in towards that Bramble Pit of Flas Wolves.
They're going for a cheese on red, I believe.
Darshan getting stuck in. It's still going to be Counterlogic Gaming pushing out Flas Wolves, but this 1v1 here could cause Darshan to blow his flash. He breaks vision through the brush.
A lot of wasted time for the duo there of Stixxay and Aphromoo. As Krepo was saying, they were going to try and find the cheese there, but end up just walking through the entire jungle, and they're going to miss all the camps. Aphromoo also going to miss this one. So
what it does give us, or sadly not give us, is an opportunity to watch this Soraka from SwordArt. In his 166 games that he's played competitively, this is his very first Soraka game. Obviously, the first 80 probably don't matter since you got completely reworked, but he hasn't played it competitively so far.
They're going for the quick shove.
Oh, they're doing the RNG swap here.
Yep.
Looking to match. They really like their lanes.
Yeah, and Darshan actually going to have to use his teleport here to try and clean up those minions as they recognize it. I think that MMD is actually just going to walk back to the 1 versus 1.
I think it's a good use of teleport. Just get a little bit of XP advantage, and then you can stack the wave. And it makes it very hard for MMD to do anything. And he actually just matches the teleport. So I think Darshan, just in this microcosm here, wins out in the play.
Yeah, I mean, MMD did it a little bit slow, so he lost one melee minion there from slight hesitation.
All minions matter,
That's
dude.
about it.
Good lock up, some extra damage on the turret for Counter Logic Gaming.
Cannon denied.
And CS up for Stixxay here. They may have level advantage as it goes across, but like you said, Krepo, you miss one play in this, and you lose that all-in potential on NL and SwordArt.
Yeah, that's the cost of matching that swap. You're just behind on tempo and on momentum, but if the lanes are that favorable for you, it can pay off. I don't actually think they are in this case. I don't think the lane matchups are one that hard on either side. Popping into Ekko isn't even a favorable matchup.
Definitely agree. The Ekko actually has pretty big edge in that, especially early on. MMD going to be able to utilize his shield though, and CS very effectively right under his turret. Both junglers up on the top side. Vision here for CLG, but Xmithie's going to be seen on the entry here, so should be just taking that red there for Karsa and then backing off. Karsa does have smite, so I think he secures this really easily.
Yeah, at least kind of suffering a little bit from the slower clear. We also see Aphromoo always taking position in that tri-brush, just ready to shadow his jungler in case he comes to an altercation, ready to move in.
CLG incredibly active here in the early game, but it seems one step off of what they continuously want to do. Trying for the red, now Karsa's going to be able to pick up the majority of that camp, and CLG is forced to walk back to lane. Stixxay doing all right for himself at the top, and Huhi teleports back to mid.
Yeah, you can see a bit of the matchup there. And actually, Huhi gets outplayed in it.
A little bit.
But that's what we're talking about, how Ryze tries to play this, right? The threat, you know, of getting in range there and the all-in popping passive as well. But Maple, very good use of Azir so far.
Karsa backing, and they see something from him soon. Xmithie still doing what he can on Kindred. Had some pretty great plays around the objectives, but that play from him is quite quiet until we get to towards that mid game.
Yeah, and I wonder what the emphasis for Flas Wolves is going to be on the Dragon in this particular game, because they've honestly tunneled in it too much, especially when opponents have been getting Dragons. Karsa would almost blind focus on it, needing to go for the steal, and then Flas Wolves as a team, because honestly, they planned poorly. They just went for the fight every time, but Karsa was already overextended, off HP, and ended up losing out. It is almost a bit of a joke, but if they're singing this much and having fun in the game, I think it actually hits their pre-planning, because they seem incredibly reactive this tournament so far. Yeah,
I'm curious to see if that's something that they looked over and changed in the time off, because it was actually a surprise that they did go with that after the first day, since during the season, they were one of the teams with very little Dragon.
Very, very little. They kind of came into this event and said, hey, we can get aggressive at Dragons. We like to fight. Here we got one in top lane, and now actually gets the Ignite from Aphromoo, so a lot of lane pressure on that one. Stixxay can keep it where he wants. It's just going to be healed up by SwordArt.
Yeah, Ignite down means that the all-in very, very low threat now. So CLG, they're probably just going to try and farm at their turret, and I expect Xmithie to be elsewhere on the map.
If Xmithie wants to gank this, he needs to come from behind and then portal over. If NL and SwordArt are going to continue playing this pushing style, you can counter the all-ins if you're pushing yourself, because it just makes it so much easier to react. But if you're under turret and you get poked down, that's when you kind of suffer as a Soraka. But it's very easy for SwordArt to react there if it's NL getting caught. I do prefer this style of Sivir Soraka though, where you actually put pressure on the turret and you force your opponents to maybe lose CS, use their spells and minions, because that's how you win the war of attrition. Yesterday, Wolf and Bang, they pretty much focused on going even.
Let Faker do it, let the solo lanes carry a little bit more, and not as much pressure from that lane. And now SwordArt actually playing completely different in that aspect than what they've really been bringing to the table here this tournament. So turning a bit on there for themselves, see if they can come out of the lane big. Almost level 6 across the board there. Maple has his. Looks like Darshan's getting a little antsy bottom, and this could cause trouble with Karsa.
Yeah, and I think that if both junglers focus bottom here, then the advantage is to CLG. Unless the Fog of War is in Elise's favor, it's very easy for them to win that 2 versus 2. It's also easier for them, to push into a turret, deny CS here.
Pesky Scuttle Crabs.
Tricky Scuttle, Master Scuttle right there.
Plus, if Huhi's teleport does come back up.
The only counterpoint to that is if the junglers play in Vision bot lane though, it allows some of these lanes that have more innate push but weaker to ganks to keep pushing. Like Soraka Sivir has an easy push, and Azir has an easy push. Yes, you won't kill people, but you will get minor advantages that help you scale towards the late game. That is the cost, obviously, of matching junglers bottom.
Exactly, and we can see a little bit of chip damage on the turret as the result there. But I feel like there's going to be guaranteed not only chip damage, but also CS denial down on the bottom side.
Yeah, and MND actually plays very poorly from behind it as well in general, because he's a very emotionally driven player, from what we heard from Clement on the desk as well. It's like, if you can shake his confidence,
Right.
especially in the best of series, you can mess with him later on.
And I like bringing up that theme because CLG, you know, Stixxay has been very vocal about how confidence-based his play is as well. So both of these teams, definitely the mental game is a very big part, you know, of how we're going to see them develop over a best of 5.
Yeah.
Stixxay, when he plays very confident, you can definitely see it. But, you know, during the regular split, and Karsa wins the smite. Xmithie did not have his up, so that's a
Very confident, though.
pretty easy win. Yeah, very confident. But yeah, you know, during the regular season, Stixxay, one of the big things people were criticizing him for was lane phase, and they were so outspoken. You know, during all of these scrims, he's a beast, right? He shows up so much, but there's this difference, you know, between on-stage confidence versus in scrims.
I'm liking the cover that Darshan has as well. It's very hard for him to die if Elise is coming from river. If Elise somehow gets behind him, yes, he maybe drop a kill there and swing that matchup around. But the triple pink ward setup from CLG on the bot side of the map is really telling. A couple deep wards paired with it. They should have complete view or just predictive view of where Karsa is on the map, and then they should be able to react appropriately.
And it should almost be time for those teleports to get used as well. Once they get more forward wards, maybe top side, they know Karsa's not towards the bottom. CLG really doesn't have anything past the river. They have his knowledge. They'll be able to make that happen. Xmithie grabbing up the scuttle. It could be just a Rift Herald here.
Yeah, I really do think that the river control right now is one of the big deals because allowing the Ryze to have that much control and the threat of the all-ins, enabling him to push in gives CLG this double teleport advantage that shouldn't really be there. You know, usually Azir should be playing up. He's going to try and poke the Ryze down, keep him under the turret. So if Ryze leaves, then you're saying, okay, you're making a really big gambit to try and turn something on the other side of the map. And Azir's going to chunk out your turret and Dominon minions at the same time. But CLG might be able to earn themselves a play because of this control.
Yeah, and then it may be too late for Flas Wolves to react accordingly because CLG has in the past set up a couple TP plays that
Vision here.
don't really have any counters. If you let them set up their vision, then make the double TP play, it's almost impossible for Flas Wolves to counter. And with the way they're controlling the river, the way they're controlling the lanes here, it seems very hard for Flas Wolves to avoid that inevitable death.
He just snuck into that brush, I believe. The thing here is that Flas Wolves, they're relying on some CLG aggression to make this work out. This play doesn't really work if CLG try and play super defensively.
I need some opt-in here.
Oh.
How good can you bait NL? Act bad.
As long as he stays behind that wall of minions, he's safe. He gets one last jump out. And it looks like Xmithie is kind of going to answer this just with a little bit of weighted pressure. So he can get out of going into the jungle. He wants to deny now, knowing that Karsa's going to be backing.
Yeah, that's one of the things. If you go for these wraparound ganks, you feel like you have such a big opportunity. But it does cost you. Every second you wait in that bush costs you, especially as Elise, who's going to get out-farmed. If Kindred is just left up there, will be clear. Oh, Darshan here.
Cheeky little trades here. Ekko always is control at this point in the early game. It's just impossible for, especially the nerf version of Poppy to out-trade. So the second Elise shows as well, it's one of the costs of that play here in the top lane.
You're fighting against Ekko and then against the wave of minions after his Time Wander clears yours.
So there is a pink ward, but if you run straight through it, then it gives Darshan a little bit less time to react. Darshan does a pretty good job, though, of playing defensively. Now, let's see if he can get it done.
Karsa with eyes on the prize. Top gets taken down once again. Karsa shows to a lane. Xmithie and the rest of the team are actually still going to be pushing here. If pressure can get kept by Huhi, Maple's not going to be doing much either.
Yeah, again, we return to that jungle matchup where the onus is on Elise to create a play, but Xmithie just plays so much safer. He hard farms until he goes for the turret.
Yeah, that's going to be a dive here.
That's a Q against the turret. Cosmic Binding hits. It's going to actually get hit with the pull as well. MMD going to be going down here. They're going to let Huhi pick that one up. No, it's going to be the Ren for Stixxay. First blood, Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, very poor reactive play here from the Flas Wolves. Maple's going in for more, but they're only 2v4 because their bot lane is in the bot lane.
This is when it gets scary. You try to scrap together a kill, and everybody walks in a little too late. Repel from Karsa goes up. He's got the room to hit a minion on the other side. After flashing, actually, he fell straight down. And now NL could be in trouble on the bot as Darshan's trying to tango 2v1.
Yeah, and then one of the important things is being able to reset after a play like that. So often when teams commit so many of their resources, overstay afterwards, but CLG are able to disengage after that, and they're able to keep those rewards that they just earned in that topside play and defend bottom, plus Rift Herald trade probably for Dragon here. I think the reactive play from Flas Wolves is going to be try and scavenge that first Dragon.
Yeah, they may go for the Dragon here, but in that exchange, not only do they make a lot of mistakes here, they leave CLG up with double teleport advantage. So this play right here is the result of a double cross map. First jungler showed stop, CLG gets an advantage bot. Then he goes to the bot lane, CLG get a push on the top lane, then translate in here. And this is a very ill-advised defensive from MMD. There is no way, no realm where that actually works out against the Bard.
That has to be a team play. That has to be coordinated with other areas of support. But teleporting in 1 versus 3 to that 3-man dive squad from CLG, suicide.
Especially when you have things like a Bard ultimate that can nullify tower damage. You can dive through it. You have Fate Skull, which can reset tower aggro.
It could have, yeah, exactly. It could have been even cleaner.
Yeah, there was pretty clean dive from CLG. Yeah. But MMD, I think he really messed up with the teleport, and this is kind of the split-second reactive play that Flash Wolves have been doing in this tournament, as opposed to the pre-planning, being aware of what CLG may force with their teleports.
They actually bring a lot more confidence to the fight, Flash Wolves, than they have getting there. They say, yeah, Azir's coming, we can stay for this, and they can. And
the huge part is, you mentioned the teleports, Krepo. CLG weren't even the ones that used the teleports in this play, right? So now there's a huge advantage. Counter Logic Gaming, we talked about them being able to earn themselves a play before. Now they've just got it handed to them.
And this is where the rotations start. Down to the bot lane now. It's going to be one after the other. Nice job by NL to clear a few more waves, but it's just a matter of time before Flash Wolves has to put more resources down there or give it up.
Yeah, I see a potential play set up here. Huhi's being a little bit passive in the mid lane, but Darshan has free reign in the top lane. And the second he will reveal Puppey, he will actually roam to mid lane and see what he can do. Maybe even teleport to the bot lane here. CLG are playing with a numbers advantage on the board.
Yeah.
And I think something really that you need to recognize with CLG as well is how they play with the tides of their vision. You can see the ward lines move up before they make the play on the top side of the map. Before they made that play, it was absolutely covered with wards, both pink and green. Meanwhile, they change their play once their vision times out, right? Their vision is cleared. They then play more defensively and have to reset up the next play. They don't try and rush into it.
Yeah, and that is the good thing about CLG's vision. They're really good at identifying when they should go for the shallow wards in the river to basically make pickoffs or maybe set up the next layer of vision. Or when they know everybody's in base, sometimes they bypass the shallow wards and go for the straight deep vision. It is a somewhat risky approach, but because they're so aware of their opponent's positioning on the map, usually they get away with it. And it is those deep wards that eventually lead those teleports behind enemy lines.
Breather moment as the first two outers are taken down. Obviously, Counter Logic Gaming going to be looking for that mid turret now. Already about 1.4 thousand gold up. It's an average of 1,200 gold up at 20 minutes for CLG, so they're already on a very good run this game. And Flash Wolves has had trouble coming from behind in their matches most of the year, and now into MSI. 15:40 on the clock. It's just been that one kill. Flash Wolves is doing what they need to stave off more and scale this team up. CLG to pressure mid now.
They know Aphromoo was there. There was double pings in that brush.
Yeah,
Can they play here against the Tempest?
CLG are going to try and pressure with their 4 range champions here on the mid lane turret. Sivir being down bottom is pretty big. Flash Wolves might need to actually rotate her mid as well to help deal with the potential of a dive there from CLG.
That's where the Bard kind of kicks in too. If you can get a slow push on bot, you match 4 versus 4 mid, you can actually bypass a lot of these walls with the Magical Journey and get an even quicker rotation to a side lane. And then you can catch the opposing team with the Tempered Fate in the rotation, or simply facilitate dives in the mid lane. Either you nullify the tower, you nullify 2 members, and you fight maybe 2v4 instead of 4v4.
Yeah, to give people a picture of, what one of those types of plays would look like, it's all about the initiative for CLG. If they start out with the Bard ultimate, you gain at least turning off the turret, maybe also turning off one of the players, and then they have the Kindred ultimate to rely upon for going for that dive.
It also doesn't get more clear which target you're going for. It's bright and golden. This guy.
Still growing their gold lead. Aphromoo now starting to do his roams, picking up some chimes, making sure he gets that vision pushed up before Counter Logic Gaming moves themselves forward anymore. And you can see the differences already in gold. Almost 1,000 for Darshan up on his lane.
Yeah, and Kobe talked about the tides of the vision. CLG also play well with the tide of the waves. Darshan will not fast push. Everyone hang on. Whoop. Unless everybody's on the map right now. He held that wave in the top lane until every player is on the board, and that's when he starts pushing out, holding hands together, moving on every side of the map. That's how you 1-3-1 efficiently, because if you push in one lane, you're overexposed. You need to be pushing on the other side of the map too.
Yeah. And so now I kind of want to take a look at this game from the Flash Wolves perspective, because they are the ones with the more difficult game plan right now, right? That this is the moment in the game where the pressure is on them. Yeah. And it's going to have to be a really well-played and well-set up counter move that they try and come up with here. Use the Sivir ultimate probably from Fog of War. They cannot take a fight here where CLG have been able to get deep wards for either a flank or even numbers right now actually is very much against them. Sivir right now is only sitting on a single item.
Yep.
Kalista has much bigger impact due to the utility of her ultimate as well as just the single item there with the Blade of the Ruined King.
Yeah, and some of the flaws here in the Flash Wolves composition are being highlighted if they have to play from behind because they don't have the decisive engage that CLG have. They don't have a Flash Snare, a Fate's Call knocking the support in. They don't even have a Bard ultimate they can throw out. Cocoon is at the highest level, actually not that safe of a spell when it comes to crowd control. And you're looking at MMD teleporting in and flanking. That is your hard engage at this point if you're Flash Wolves, so they're losing control of the map.
So what could be that moment for Flash Wolves? If there were a dangerous position besides a Baron attempt for CLG, where do they find their in?
See, I feel like the moment for Flash Wolves even looks like a non-moment, right? It's them trying to wave clear and them trying to hold out till the late game.
It's a face check in a brush where Cocoon counters
Or that. See, it's either a huge numbers advantage where they get the Sivir surprise factor and the whole team comes rushing at you, you take someone out. Oh! Whew. Okay.
They weren't going.
I'm on tiptoes right now.
I saw the parallel convergence flies like, go me!
Yeah, because that moment might come at any time. However, Flash Wolves have to be very careful about choosing that moment because they're trying to play the safe and they're trying to scale up and look for that end game opportunity. But on the same token, if something presents itself, they need to be able to jump on it. This is why I really like these moments in the game because it's been building up for so long. Everyone has flashes ready. If you have the initiative in a team fight, you can jump on somebody. If you eliminate someone before it really explodes into the full 5-on-5, then you can even turn tides.
Yeah, they can hold this for 30 seconds. Home guards as well for this double TP. Could be a big play.
That's Maple here.
Whoa! NL over the wall. Tries to heal himself up and stay alive. Flash is back. He's already taken down Aphromoo, and it's the Huhi teleport in. It's the Ekko teleport in from Darshan. He goes flying forward. Gets taken down after his chrono break. Xmithie going very low. They weren't able to use everything in conjunction. The respite and everything else was too broken.
NL and Maple using everything there to survive, and the Soraka heals them back up. Here goes Karsa, though, face-checking Huhi.
Very, very risky. Chronologic Gaming still holds goal side to Dragon. They picked that up for themselves and come out big on the fight because they could bring it in with TP.
We're focusing just on a tiny bit of macro there at the micro at the very end there. When the sweeper turns off this ward, it's targetable. Elise is able to get out after that, getting a little bit too close to Ryze, which is very often a death sentence.
A little bit of tunnel vision here. CLG's fighting without Fate's Call because they just used it earlier. A tiny bit of disrespect trying to secure the Dragon. Yes, they had the wards in, but the kite is really right here for Flash Wolves, especially with that Soraka in the background healing everybody up. Yes, Darshan goes for 1-for-1, but I think CLG were a little bit overzealous on this play, trying to play an offensive bar positioning while you were down the Fate's Call. But here again, we saw the tunneling of Flash Wolves on that Dragon. They should have known that they can't contest that whatsoever against this Ryze. Just opted out, and they should have been a little bit quicker on the next play, get the tempo advantage instead of playing the scenic route and watching the opposing team take down the Dragon.
At the end of the day, Flash Wolves do get 2 kills off of that for the single counter logic gaming trade, and now they're trying to shove up mid and pressure here, but CLG are closing in.
A fantastic Emperor's Divide by Maple in that fight. On the Hunt's going to be used to get out, trying to pick up a little bit of that global gold. They have one more turret on the top side. They're still down 3,000 here, 21 minutes into the game. Chronologic Gaming continues to control the river, but Flash Wolves are picking up necessary kills for core items.
And that's why I think that was a decent trade for Flash Wolves, because they've already got 1 dragon, so they're not too worried about this dragon stacking from CLG, and getting back that decent amount of mid-game gold can help them hold out. Plus, the timer's going to be down now. It's harder for CLG to draw Flash Wolves out to try and take advantage of this. And Flash Wolves, again, they're just going to try and huddle here with the Azir and Sivir, and hope that Soraka will keep everybody alive until they can purchase more items.
And also, if they didn't know it already, it shows up how they have to approach these late game team fights is kiting back with Azir and Sivir. If you have to chase and you can't all in, that's the key different point there. If you have to chase a Sivir and an Azir in fights and they can do return damage and kite you against a Soraka, that is the ideal way Flash Wolves want to play. Barring obviously catching a major key member out with a Cocoon and then blowing that guy up, turning it into a pick. But that is so unlikely to happen that the slower team fights, walking backwards, kiting, and then turning on a front line member when it overextends. That's the way Flash Wolves want to approach the team fight, as opposed to CLG. They want to dive in, Ekko in the back line, Stixxay throwing in Aphromoo, maybe
Right.
Tempered Fate. So a difference in approaches to these team fights.
That position as well, the walls they could jump over between Xmithie, Darshan, and Stixxay made that so easy for them in the end. And now, kind of just living inside of Flas Wolves jungle, they're going to make more work of this bot lane.
Yeah, not surprised here. CLG, they're the ones who want to press the tempo. They're the ones running. Never mind, it's just going to be a disengage here. The tower actually doesn't go down. But CLG are the ones running the big 2-item carries, right? Ryze is actually extremely powerful on these 2 perfect items for him that build both AP and mana. This is one of his strongest points, actually. Everyone always thinks of Ryze as the super late game, but Azir is the one with the better top end there, whereas Ryze has a really strong mid-game spike off 2 items, and Kalista goes without mentioning. The Hurricane plus his Blade of the Ruined King here for Stixxay is one of his ideal points.
Yeah, no more additional benefit really, as opposed to a crit build that comes out of NL.
Which obviously is going to be a multiplier, and he's going to be critting the entire team with those wonderful changes to Sivir for the late game team fights.
Such invisible damage too, those ricochets. You really don't pay attention to them until you feel them in your face.
Yeah, you feel it.
The real pain that comes across, and there's not much that really NL can get or has to get by. Once he gets one of those like Xmithie in the front, you can start bouncing him off as long as he's not Tempered Fate by Aphromoo.
And gotta keep track of these double exhausts in the team fights too, because we have many members that want to dash in. Like Xmithie will pivot over a wall. You'll have Darshan just throwing himself in there, but then once the exhaust comes off, even on a Ren, for example, it can completely turn the tide of a team fight.
Yep. Darshan actually kind of wants to eat one of these exhausts so that Huhi doesn't have to, and Xmithie doesn't have to. Stixxay is even going to be a short-range AD carry. Definitely ruins their game plan if he gets hit with one.
CLG is doing a good job keeping the map open, though. They never commit 5 members in one lane. They're really showing you how you use double teleport, not necessarily in a full 1-3-1 extended like push, but they always get one push going, rotate one of the members into the mid lane, and then they switch lanes, and they keep systematically taking out these outer turrets.
Right. The thing they're really looking for right now is to establish not only extra damage on these secondary turrets, but looking for opportunities to use this Bard ultimate and the double teleports to jump on a Flas Wolves opportunity. If someone presents themselves, CLG have to be ready to pull the trigger there. Bard especially has a lot of potential for picking people off from a long distance.
Yeah, peak potential is definitely there, but the foundation of that is vision, and that's why we might see Xmithie and Aphromoo here move into the enemy red jungle. First, get the vision control, and then if you can get deep red vision, that's when you can start baiting Baron. If you have to force errors out of Flas Wolves, that's when it becomes easy. If you can predict their movement, force them into a chokehold, that's when you can throw out the Bard ultimate or just pick them off.
Honestly, getting these turrets would be less than what they could do. Leaving them up, the Tempered Fate behind, and then CLG collapsing around the entire Flas Wolves team. One turret could mean so much more, just not the turret. So looking for the fight and the turret. CLG buys their time, like you guys say, push that vision up and move back and forth quickly across Flas Wolves jungle. Here, giving Flas Wolves a little bit of breathing room.
Reactionary Seizure from Flas Wolves, strength in numbers for their compositions. They're getting split on the map, so the reaction is to go mid. But right now, they know that they can't go further in mid lane, so 1-3-1 efficiently working here for CLG.
Yeah, plus Dragon's about to spawn as well. So CLG, they're going to pressure on both side lanes, then probably retreat. Actually, they're going to keep it up if Flas Wolves decide not to pressure it. Whoa, that was don't agree with that one. But they're actually pinging Baron, so
they're going to use the Baron pressure to keep Darshan in the top lane, hoping that he can 1v1 put tower pressure and then turn this into a bait, but it's a little bit too little vision here.
Yeah, so CLG thought that they were about to get pressured for the side lanes, but Flas Wolves
just went for Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. They played that mind game there. Haha, we're going to stay out on the map. CLG did not expect that, and so they lose out on a little bit of the pressure there.
But if CLG had a blue trinket on Dragon, that could have been absolutely destructive.
Tempered Fate, that's going to be one hit on Karsa. Is that what they want? The repel is still there. SwordArt coming from the side to join his team, and MMD is in the middle of the fight as they head towards the backside now for Chronologic Gaming. It seems like they've split both sides. Everybody's safe for now as Aphromoo tries one more attempt. The Cosmic Binding actually connects with the turret structure on MMD. It's the follow-up for Chronologic Gaming. They found SwordArt, and now they may find more. Darshan deep under the turret. Chrono Break is there, but it's not necessary just yet as they continue to close in on kills. They continue to sing the praises of their teammates, and Darshan dodges one last attack out, but the execute is there from Karsa. CLG looking for the ace. The respite is down, and it heals the members necessary and allows Maple to drop.
The 3 re-engages there were actually so well played by CLG.
Yeah, everybody thought that fight was over, and then one binding connects, then Aphromoo flies in, Darshan goes in, and the ultimate, the Shurima shuffle, it wasn't there. It was simply too late for Maple.
It goes Aphromoo, then Stixxay with the Fade's Call, then Aphromoo again, and Xmithie going forward as well. Huhi with the flash. Very, very key fight there for Counter Logic Gaming. If Flas Wolves were able to hold at that point and delay the game further, it would get much worse for Counter Logic.
Tempered Fate splits up the team fight, and Huhi immediately goes for an L, and this is what we talk about, creating space here, because it allows Stixxay to play wherever he wants. Xmithie even flies out of that fight.
Baron right now as well. This is actually a pretty tense moment. I don't see anyone on the minimap going for it, so I think that's a CLG confirmed Baron, but look at the re-engages. Multiple times, there it is. He hits the binding into the Fate's Call. Xmithie and Huhi jumping forward here. SwordArt does go down, and that's when CLG decide to continue this dive. Stixxay on the Kalista following up the damage, and Darshan goes in to tank the turret, ensuring that they clean up everybody else. Xmithie here gonna make sure that Stixxay doesn't go out, and Maple actually just took the soldier in there right as the Kindred ultimate came up.
I didn't quite see it, but On the Hunt was on a fairly large cooldown in that fight.
Yeah.
Maybe Flash was actually used that to get out of the mid lane quicker and rotate to the dragon, and then didn't have it up for the fight, because it seems like a key ultimate to have. We'll have to recheck that, because they need a kite with that On the Hunt. If they don't have the additional move speed bonus, then exactly what Kobe described right there will happen. These re-engages, you know, people dashing in aggressively, closing the gap.
So we gotta point out, and because I didn't see that binding. Players across the globe have been praising Aphromoo's play at this tournament, different plays, different champions. And I think it's underestimated the confidence of your captain and how much synergy that brings to the team when you see that your captain is confident as well in his initiation.
Yeah, he definitely knows the limits of that champion. On the Hunt, just watch it real quickly, was used at the start of the fight. So Flash Wolves, they didn't disengage quickly enough. They thought they could take the fight, but ended up losing it. So they were split up at the start. Good engage by CLG, and again, decisiveness is what they need. They know when to strike, and then these teamfights are played out perfectly. They're switching targets, they're never overcommitting. Huhi launched initially on an L, but then realized after his combo that he would chase into his death, so he backed off again. They target switch very well in CLG, very controlled communication.
Definitely want to highlight Xmithie's damage contributions as well on the Kindred. This is one thing, you know, when we talk about the differences in these two team comps as far as scaling, definitely the advantage for CLG as far as the jungler matchup goes there.
Yeah, Banner of Command versus Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's CLG trying to close in, capitalizing so much off that last team fight, turning it into the Baron, turning into side lane pressure once again, and the turrets are going to fall.
Slowly pushing in. On the
Sivir
Hunt goes
ultimate.
on. That's, I mean, they give it respect, but there's no push by Flash Wolves. They know it's kind of a balk there. CLG is going to stay inside the base, look to get a bit of extra damage down. Very nice hit onto Stixxay. He's going to cleanse that one off. He'll be safe for now, but they have to be careful fighting over the wall. This is where Flash Wolves got themselves into trouble last time when CLG could go back and forth. A very nice Emperor's Divide from Maples, cleaning up the fight a little bit. But now to the back line is Counter Logic Gaming. They go around the wall. They find the members necessary on Flash Wolves. They take them down in a 3-for-2. NL will fall as well. MMD will make it to the fountain, but they're going for the Nexus.
Darshan went huge in that team fight. The switch to Soraka, immediately Stixxay flashes it, sacrifices his life there and identify the threat there to sustain. They take it out, and then suddenly Huhi is still alive in his fight.
Coming out strong in the beginning of this game, 31 minutes in against Flash Wolves with quite the composition from both teams out of Champion Select. CLG makes quick work of this one at 11-5, and we're going to game 2 here in the semifinals.
Counter Logic Gaming. They wanted to prove that they also have found consistency here at MSI.
Yep.
Upsetting a lot of teams in the group stages, but consistency has still been something that has historically eluded this team and this region in general.
Yeah. Wondering why still Karsa went for the Elise though. It did not work for Flash Wolves. They didn't find the necessary picks. There were better junglers on the table for him to take.
I thought they were going to go much harder on that mid lane jungler combo and try and punish the Ryze. But Huhi, as I said, he's so comfortable on this champion, probably his most comfortable mid champion in this meta on 6.8 right now. And they were able to play it out really nicely played as far as the mid-game team fight as well.
Yeah, and the style that Flash Wolves have kind of put upon themselves this tournament is kind of opposite of what they were playing in playoffs in the LMS. And I feel they may have to go back to that LMS style, just blind aggression and try and fight your way out, because these controlled team fights, CLG's playing them just better.
Flas Wolves have to change something.
Bring it right up to bat. Next time the team gets up, go and fight again. Is there anything else they can do besides the fight? Is it out of champion select, or would they be able to run that team again before we move on?
I mean, you can run that team again. You have to play a lot of different things better.
All right. So for breakdown on that CLG Game 1 win, let's check in with our analysts.
Great analysis.